What you're about to hear is a conversation of three charming young men who with no wits about them as they openly discuss video games. These gentlemen believe that due to their extremely large gamer scores and trophies, and lack of social skills, that they are somewhat entitled to hold an opinion. Let us observe them in their ramblings in the real Gamerscore zone. Podcast. This week we talk about why we're here, accusing for a bruising, and doing the Jew. But first, here's the song of the week.
Who's that gamer joining the lobby? Who's that gamer? Who's that shooter going 30-4? What a score! I'll be your buddy, covering you, watching your back in this army of two. I'll be your non-stop gunner, shooting what I can, your big killer sister. That's the plan. Get into my team. Get onto my squad. Get into my team. Get onto my squad.
So, once again, wonderful singing and an absolute no idea from myself.
Business as usual then.
Yeah, I know, but like if you picked songs from my from like 2000s pops, like I like how you threw out an easy one while I'm not on the show last week.
Look, mate, in my opinion, there has been no good music that has come out since I was born, basically. All right, so anything after 92, you might as well just throw it away. I mean,
listen to the wrong genres.
Yeah, well, okay, actually, that's true. Well, look, it's not like I can come on here and do a Skrillex track for Song of the Week, all right? Like, I can try, but...
What's stopping you?
The lack of lyrics is usually the tricky bit. You fucking smart ass.
I could totally see a Far Cry 3 moment here as you come over the hill. That would be awesome. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
You don't need lyrics, God.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. I'll just do my best rendition of that Skrillex spliced with a Bob Marley song.
Yeah.
It can't be any worse than me doing Baby Shark.
Well, that is absolutely true. So just for listeners out there, I'm sure Nick is yelling right now because he knows exactly what it is. But it is "Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car" by Billy Ocean.
Oh wow!
Which is a fantastic song.
You know what? I haven't even heard of the song. I haven't even heard of the artist. So.
Get out of my dreams.
Anyway.
Get into my car. But I won't sing anymore, otherwise we get copyright strike.
So it's not Bette Midler. What a shame.
No, it's not.
I really did, I thought you said 80s. I was like, it's got to be Bette. Celine, it's too early for Celine. It's got to be Bette. But,
yeah, exactly.
You'll know for next time.
Yeah, exactly. No, you'll be so... Well, again, there's only so many songs that I can do. Eventually, one of them has to be right one of these weeks. Because we try not to do repeats, Cameron?
Try not to. Try being an operative word.
Do we want to introduce our new guest?
We'll let him do the job for us. We're too lazy these days.
Wow. I love it. Well, should I introduce myself then?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
So, hey, Xbox fanboys. Who am I? I'm CJ, I suppose. I'm new to the Xbox. Well, new as in a couple of years, but I finally turned the thing on in the last few months or whatever else. This is the first time I've been on a purely Xbox podcast, which is exciting. It's so exciting, guys. I want to thank you for having me. I've been around the PlayStation spam hunting circles for some time, mainly playing Ratalaika, sometimes you. A lot of Japanese VNs. I know you guys don't play a lot of the octopus and cousin action over here on the Xbox, but of course that's all we tend to play on the PlayStation for trophies. Sometimes there's some cousins and wheelchairs too. But look, that is what Sony offers us on the Japanese side. But I know you're wholesome here on Microsoft. Phil Spencer told me. So, I look forward to learning, and I've actually been enjoying your show a lot for the last few months. So it's quite an honor to be here tonight.
Oh, thank you. We make sure to keep all of our degeneracy to the PC. That's where I keep all my visual novels. What else do you play, CJ?
So mainly, as I said, I've been playing for a long time PlayStation. So for the last 4 years or so, I hadn't actually gamed, full disclosure, I'm slightly older than both of you, as I think at least Cameron knows. So I never gamed in my 20s, well, not really, and so I didn't really get to start till my 30s, and it was the last 10 years or so. So it was amazing how much stuff I'd missed. Like, I missed the PS3 genre, I missed the era, I missed the Xbox 360 era. So coming in, over the last 4 years, there's just been so many wonderful games to play. And like I made a joke at the start that I do play, a lot of the short games, but so do you guys. I've seen your achievement cards. It's appalling. And but I do play a lot of JRPGs as well. In particular, Final Fantasy 14, which I'm a tragic for. 1,000 hours tragic or something plus. Which is, it's wonderful. So I sort of play a bit of everything. We talked recently with Cameron about racing as well. I love racing games and. Play anything, rally, circuit in particular. Forza, which we talked about, which is wonderful as well. But yeah,
Matt's
I don't
just
think
feeling very uncomfortable right now. Completely.
Oh, that's a taboo subject, isn't it?
Sneak a racing fan onto the podcast.
I'm outnumbered. I'm outnumbered. I'm outgunned. What am I supposed to do? To be fair, there is nothing wrong with racing games. It is a personal failing of mine that I'm just very, very bad at them.
Oh, you don't have to be good at them to play them.
I got to be good at them to get all the bloody achievements. That's the trick. I've got a bunch of them sitting there.
I will say this for like the 100th time. Eliminator in Forza Horizon 4 is not hard. You just need to get good.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna. But I haven't played a Forza game since what? The original Horizon, I think.
Yeah, I know. The fact that you have
so it's been a long time.
Just baffles me.
I like that. See, I
actually enjoyed that game quite a bit.
Yeah, you should play the rest of them.
I know you're a Neo. I know you're a completionist or whatever else, which is it's unfortunate for you. I know Cameron sort of thinks he is a completionist, but really he's not. He's just pretending to be more accepted by the community. But I'm unashamedly not a completionist, and tragically, I think this will not impress you at all. Please don't nick yourself. I have like a 40% completion on the Xbox. I will get that lower, Tarragon. I will be able to do that, sir. And I have a 60. I have 1%. I have a 60% on the PlayStation, but it's not for want of trying because I played a stack of games. But the problem is even if you get to 50%, it pushes that completion percentage above an acceptable, I should say, number. So I'm trying, but I don't know. I'm sure we'll talk about this completionist addiction you have at some point at some stage. I'd be fascinated to hear why you fall under that curse.
I mean. Look, I'll get out the recliner and we'll do a whole therapy session because I think I'm going to need the full hour, but we'll definitely get into it.
Yeah, but it's funny you mentioned about the racing games or whatever because I've got a lot of respect completionists or whatever. It's valid, they matter too. But it does stop. Perhaps not for you because you have like 1.5 million Gamerscore. Is that correct, or is that true achievement score? I made
no, that's Gamerscore. 1.55 million. Yeah.
Look, I didn't even know the numbers went that high. That's crazy. So it's wonderful. Congratulations, sir. But you could probably have 3 or 4 million if you weren't a completionist, because all that time. And I'm sure. No, I'm not joking here, but I'm sure you'd agree with me. And this is the problem I have. Is that and why I love the Xbox coming across from PlayStation, because we have the Platinum Trophy. In most games that go for, a reasonable length of time, there's at least one trophy that requires so much time just for stupid stuff that you're never going to do naturally. And, of course, on the Xbox, you have your 1,000G or, 5,000, I see, which is wonderful too, recently or whatever. But, you can just stop at 960 and save that extra 30 hours of your life if you want to, which is wonderful. The plat side, you can't do that. But that must be a conscious, you must be aware of that you're just pissing away your life to get that extra 30 when old mate over here is getting his million, stopping at 960.
100%. But I think the thing is about it is that when you break it all down, the achievement system is just pissing away my life anyway. So I'm in for a penny, in for a pound at this point. The other bit is that how much money I've sunk into this fucking hobby. I've got to get the most out of all these games that I play. And I genuinely it's also the dopamine hit that you get of ticking things off a list. It's very much that I get great joy from reducing the amount of games that I have to look at in my ready to install list. There is nothing better to me. It's not finishing the game feels great, but what feels even better is uninstalling it and hiding it so I never have to look at it in my life ever again. And it's just completely done and I have a complete experience.
Yeah.
And I know that's psychotic, but that's kind of been the mindset in terms of as longtime listeners will know, my not buying things during 2020. Which went relatively well, and my hopefully continued not buying things in 2021. Which
I wish I could say the same.
My update for that is I still haven't bought anything yet.
Yeah.
So we're good. I mean, we're only in January, but so far so good. And I'll bring another update each week to make sure that I'm on the straight and narrow. That's
impressive, sir, because it's possible I have a game buying problem. Some people would say I don't feel that, but you could definitely say that if you looked at the profile or whatever. So, did you? If it's okay, if I can ask you,
yeah, go for it.
Did you? Is this a choice? Like, obviously, you're going to save a ton of money, and this is wonderful. But do you feel like you were buying too many games at one point, or you never had that problem?
Oh no, I mean, I think it got to this stage with. Part of it's money. I mean, like I'm definitely not made of the stuff. And like I was trying to save money. I just bought a house. Like I had some life changes and stuff like that. So it was kind of a pertinent financial decision. But that was kind of a nice thing to do and a good thing to do. But I think the main thing was that I was going to every sale and looking at because we used to do sales on the show for each week around what was coming out and what we'd recommend to buy. And I was I was just going and buying, okay, hey, this is a quick completion. I'm putting on the list for this week, so I'm going to buy it. Like Kirby is probably another level there where he would buy basically anything he doesn't own that he even looks vaguely interested in maybe playing at some stage in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I was essentially just like, I wouldn't buy anything if it wasn't on sale, but I would buy it if it was on any kind of sale. And I realized that I was like, look, there's just so much stuff on here that I'm never going to play, that I'm not even all that interested in.
You're doing the old Steam trick.
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly the same as the Steam thing. Is that like the deal was just too good for me to just go like, oh, I kind of want that maybe. And it has been hard to go into the sales and be like, oh, is there anything worth buying? I'm like, no, actually, you know what? Like realistically, there isn't. I haven't really found much. Like I don't feel like I've missed out on much having not bought anything last year. And this year, who knows? I mean, like there might be a couple of releases. But a lot of that's I think a lot of that's being satiated by stuff's coming to Game Pass. That's been really good.
The one question I want to ask you. How do you think you would have fared without Game Pass?
I probably would have finished more stuff. But to be fair, Game Pass has been a really good impetus to work on things.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about it when we get to what we've been playing. But it definitely has. I've been valacking a lot of games, as the term's been coined, to basically having things sit there and not play them until suddenly they're leaving Game Pass, and you have to get them done within the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Like Indivisible.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Just wait, I'm just entering that into Urban Dictionary.
No, that's already in there. It's literally already in there. It's if you look it up, if you actually do the search for it, you'll find it. Yeah, like I think that it was really a conscientious effort on my part to bring down the backlog a little bit. So, for example, my big thing at the moment is the 360 non-backwards compatible games. So I've still got my old 360 plugged in. I've got about 40 to 50 games on there or so that I essentially need to finish before I can disconnect that console. Or at least get into a state where I'm happy just leaving them where they are for the rest of time. So I've been slowly chipping away at that, and not buying any new 360 games is relatively easy because they aren't releasing any new ones. But it also means that like it doesn't give me time to play a lot of the old Xbox One things that I've had sitting there. And so, when you go to your Xbox collection, it'll tell you, hey, you have 900 games or whatever. It'll tell you how many games you have total that you could install. And my one says about 926. Now, most of them I've already finished and hidden. So there's probably about maybe another 100, 150 or so that are sitting in there. And then maybe another 50 of those that I haven't started or so. So, we're looking... I am putting a significant dent in it. So I finished 279 games last year, and a lot of that was rather like a trash for the Hall of Fame competition and things like that, and trying to hit that 1.5 million. But a lot of that was still like games that I enjoyed playing or old stuff that I've been cleaning up. And I have been, the dream is to get to 99% completion. I don't think it'll ever happen, but it takes about 600 achievements to go up a single point. And that's obviously not starting anything new, which I do on occasion when things come to Game Pass. Or I've been also getting into PC Game Pass now that I have a laptop that can actually play something without, overheating.
I have to ask then, because this is a similar thing, obviously, on the other side. How many unattainable achievements do you have then stopping you, like, potentially from a perfect profile?
I mean, like you mean like true unobtainable? Like I literally couldn't do them no matter how good I was?
No, like servers gone off, or just for whatever reason you couldn't do them. Are there a lot? Or
there's a few. So you've got I know most of them off the top of my head. Actually, you've got like Forza 2. The auction house is closed.
Yeah.
All of the online for Homefront. The mask achievement for Army of 240th Day, although there is a way to do it, but it's like ridiculously complex. And there's a few achievements in the original Naruto. Sorry, what?
Indivisible, the DLC?
Yes, the Indivisible DLC, although that might get patched. And then there was some DLC for what was that? The original Naruto Rise of the Ninja game. They basically just didn't bring they brought out achievements for it, but never actually brought out the DLC, or the achievements never worked for the DLC, so it's just impossible to get. So like again, it's not a lot of them. It's more, it tends to be more like skill based stuff that I'm stuck on, and it's a lot of those things where like we were talking about games where you have a single achievement left, and it's like, do I want to put 30, 40, another 100 hours in to get this one done? And so there are a few games like that where I have a single achievement left that I just don't want to put. It's not necessarily the time of the game itself, but it's also the investment of time of getting to that skill level where you can actually earn it. So, for example, Dead Space 2, I have the hardcore achievement left to do, which is the you only get 3 saves for the whole playthrough on the second highest difficulty. I really hate those kinds of things. Like Limbo, I've got a few of those where it's like, you got less than 5 deaths, which I'll get at some stage. I know people will tell me. And then even stuff like, Devil May Cry, I'm not very good at that kind of, those kind of like action, what do you call them, character action games, where, it's there's a high skill ceiling, you got to be good at combos and timing and things like that. Fighting games are very similar. Like I'm an endurance gamer, I'm not a skill gamer. Like I tend to be good at bashing my head against something till I get it.
But I feel like skill, like, it's one and the same. Like Limbo, in that it's going to be one of those cases that you throw yourself at it that many times until you eventually.
You're right. And I think like there are some like Limbo. I think I would eventually get just by sort of memorizing and learning. But something like Devil May Cry, where it's like actual skill, it's hard. It's hard to be incentivized to do it.
It was like me trying to do S ranks for my friend of Pedro. Like at the end of the day, I just I got as much as I could, and then I just left it.
Yeah, and I can't. Yeah, and like that drives me insane. But I do what I can.
Yeah.
See, that's how you know you're a completionist, Cameron. When you can list off all the unattainables. You would have no idea. Look, I'd have no idea either. But
I've got a rough idea, but like my list is way bigger.
Yeah. It gets to a point.
Server's going offline. It's fine.
That's right.
Yeah, servers going offline is basically all hands on deck for me when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm trying to get through a lot of EA games at the moment, because there's always the chance that they just turn their stuff off.
I'm counting down the days till Battleborn's done, and I'm just like, yep, don't have to worry about that because I can't do it.
I like that. They release you. Yeah. It's an interesting thing though, because like I haven't been around the Xbox community or whatever, so I really don't know the players, but having been around most of the top trophy hunters in the world or whatever else, and I'm sure you have this on Xbox too, but of course a good percentage of the top trophy hunters in PlayStation are team accounts, which is fine or whatever else, but obviously it's different for them if there's multiple people, multiple skill sets. But of the handful like Hakum and Mr. Unknown who recently left, they're varying degrees of completionists, and with the exception of Hakum, most of them have given up on trophy hunting in the last year, and short games, whatever. But ultimately it's that thing of trying to maintain this 100% profile, and I don't want to start that game because, as you said, Indivisible, like you got burnt. Well, you didn't get burnt, but a lot of people did get burnt on that game. They didn't know, and there's a the Hitman 3 is a wonderful one. Today they just got to go and buy all those other games, as well as that. Like it's you never know what's going to happen, I think. And I've got a lot of respect for people that have 90% or above, because that all factors into it. But I just it terrifies me.
It's exactly, and it terrifies me too. Like it's tough in a consideration. I mean, part of the reason I don't play a lot of new games is because there's always the chance, and I got burnt with Indivisible with this, where it's like I finished the base game, I didn't really enjoy it my first time through, and then they just brought out a DLC pack, which I was like, oh great, okay, well I need to play that now. And then on top of that, the achievements were broken.
Yeah.
So it's like I couldn't have planned for that. So like it's safer to just wait, which is like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on
it's
the
a
flip
real-
side, you wait sometimes and the servers go down unexpectedly, or
Yeah.
eventually you're gonna get
Exactly.
caught out by something and it's just out of
Exactly,
your hands.
it's impossible to avoid, and like I have no qualms about getting even if I didn't have unobtainables in my tag, I just don't think I'd be able to get to 100% in any reasonable fashion. I mean, my goal was to get to 95%, and that's took me most of last year, and I'm still only at 94.5. So we'll get there, but it's again the more that I have there. The way I always put it to people is getting up to 95% would be fine, but there's usually a pretty good reason why I don't have the achievement. If there's a game that I have left unfinished, there's usually a pretty good reason for it.
Yeah, I like that. It'll never be me, but I respect that. It's funny though. We're talking about like you rattled off like a shitload of games there, 900 or something, and it's often like I hear people like, and I'm sure you do, too. Like not everybody, and you built those games up over a period of time, but a lot of people they don't. I mean, and Game Pass as well. So I know it's difficult because you have those games too, but we don't have them on the PlayStation side. But a lot of people's library is kind of small or whatever, and they're always like, I can't get a big gamer score, I can't get a big trophy score because I just can't afford to buy all these games or whatever. And you're there because you buy thousands of games or whatever else. And yeah, sure, that's true, but what they don't understand, and I'm not crying poor, although I imagine it's similar with you with that many games, although you're a bit more control with most of them done or whatever, is that you do get to this influx point where it's not necessarily about the money, it's about your time, and there's all these games you want to play, and so I'll buy it or whatever, and then you're just like, but I'm never going to play this, and now I'm buying another game that I will now put me further behind what I want to play, and that's not even necessarily trying to finish 100% the game. So it's this real, like, I don't know where the sweet spot is. Maybe like never more than 100 games more than you're up to or something is the sweet spot, but it's something.
Yeah, that was always the rule. Like, so because I was trying to ease away from buying games for a little bit before I went cold turkey, and the thinking behind it was, I made sure that if I was going to buy something on a sale, I was going to play it like that month. Like I was going to, like, if I was going to buy it, I'm going to play it straight away. Yeah. Like I was like, if I'm going to buy it and it's going to go into the backlog and I'm not going to play it, then I'm not going to buy it. And so, like, again, it messes with the backlog order, but at least means that you're not just on the treadmill of just chucking things in there and just, pushing yourself back. It's like, okay, well, I know I'm going to make progress in this, and it makes you reevaluate whether you actually want to play the game at all.
That's true.
For achievements, trophies, or otherwise.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Let's now that we've had that wonderful discussion, maybe we want to do the housekeeping.
Oh yeah, that thing. So we pull our guests from Discord. Lovely little thing. Discord is a social chat room that is more widely accepted than the chat rooms of years ago. Because we've got us creeps in there, and not the other creeps. I don't know.
Well,
I'm just rambling. Don't listen to anything I say.
Discord.io/RealGamerscore is the address where you can come join us. We talk about video games. We talk about the podcast. We post a lot of really fucking terrible memes, and then also complain about the lack of memes on the podcast. Like it's very cyclical. It's very incestuous. But
How can
I
we
spend most of my
insert
time.
Bernie Sanders meme into the podcast?
Well, I mean, now you've just ruined my joke for putting that in the background thing in the. But yeah, that's like if you want to get in contact with us, that's usually the best place to do it. We have a channel for our questions there. We get our guests from there, and we really appreciate all the discussion. And we love chatting with our fans, or community, as I think is the usual nomenclature these days.
Yeah, that implies that you care for everyone equally. That's wonderful, isn't it?
No, yeah, absolutely.
We care for
absolutely.
everybody equally except for Aptos84 and Clowntastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, those guys know what they did.
Anyway, moving along. Patreon. We have a Patreon. If you want to support our content, feel free to donate to us. We have different tiers. And pretty much just get the outtakes, get some others. Are we working on anything else?
No, well, we were working on a couple of new concepts, but that's kind of been thrown a little bit to the side with all of our changes, with our hosting and stuff. But we will be revisiting some stuff. I will be doing the outtakes. I will put out outtakes when we have outtakes. So weeks where we just get straight into it and there isn't really much to talk about. And you'll notice there'll be absences like last week. But I'll make sure to post those in the Patreon Discord channel, so you guys aren't missing out. And any new projects or anything that we've got going on there will go to you guys first. But basically, that help keeps the lights on. Pays for server costs, stuff with our podcast stuff, and
Keeps
also
us fed.
Yeah, exactly. Fed equipment, and then competitions and prizes once we get those up and running again.
Yep. Also going to mention, if there's any other suggestions you guys want to throw in, feel free to throw it into the Champs channel. Any supported patrons, or even if there's non-patrons that want to throw anything our way, let us know. Cool. Should we get into the news?
Yeah, let's have a look. What do we got?
So, everybody's favorite thing, body pillows, yeah?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. How did you sneak this in here?
I told you, I love this story so much. So,
okay, yeah.
CJ, you know what body pillows are, yeah?
Yes, yeah. What are you doing with it, is my interest.
Well, look, from first glance, I thought it was drinkable.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So, yeah. Come on. So, Mountain Dew have an officially licensed body pillow.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's a giant Mountain Dew bottle. Spoilers.
Isn't that amazing? Every 12-year-old boy's dream is a body pillow.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
and
that's
now
the
they
thing,
get
is
a drink
like,
afterwards as well. This is wonderful, isn't it?
I can only imagine what's on the other side, because it's always like they tend to be like safe to work on the front, and then when you flip them over, you're like, whoa, boy.
I was gonna say, if you do not flip this over and it's not Doritos, then you're not living the gamer lifestyle.
You get code red on the other side, There's a little bit less safe for work.
I'm just in terms of marketing though, like I just wanted to throw this in there because there's been a slow news this week, and come on, Mountain Dew body pillow.
Apparently it's coming out in March. They haven't given out a date for it, but I'll be interested to see how much they are. I mean, you're going to get one, right, Cameron? You're going to show it off on the show?
Why not? Why not?
I can think of 1,000 reasons why not, but I don't think you'd listen to any of them.
100%, but that's exactly.
All right, can we move on to a real news story, please?
All right, so Valve, yeah?
Yeah, Valve, I've heard of them.
They apparently make games.
Well, okay, like that is a hotly debated topic. I don't think they've made a game since what? They did bring out, what was it, Artifact? Was there...
Who made that Halo?
Halo.
Half-Life 3. No.
Oh, yeah, okay, Half-Life Alyx. Yeah, okay, yes. Yeah, okay, that's fair. They did make that. That was VR only, though.
Yeah. Before that, what was there?
So they did Artifact, which was their card game. I think it was their sort of heart. Yeah, so again, that was part of the problem.
Yep.
So it was made by... They brought on one of the guys who originally did Magic the Gathering, so it was supposed to be their big thing, and it completely flopped. They took it down. They were doing a whole Anthem thing where they basically took it down, they're going to redo it and re-release it at some stage.
Okay, so how many failed card game attempts do we need to have before studios realize that it's not going to go anywhere?
Well, we had the same thing with Dota clones, MOBAs, where we had like 50 of them, and they all either went under. And then you have Battle Royales as well, and the same thing happened there. Like,
I feel like Battle Royales, though, except for stuff like the culling, which have
it was like the culling, the Darwin Project.
But Darwin, see, this is the thing, though. Like, you say Battle Royales, Darwin Project is apparently staying up now.
Oh, yeah, apparently, but it's like they're going to have, like, one server. Look, there is, and, like, this new Hyperscape one apparently is not doing great. Like, there's only really room for 2 or 3 of them, I think. And I think that's true of most genres that are massively, have a large multiplayer presence.
Yeah. Okay, fair point. But
I think they're being a bit tough on Valve, though, because I mean, when you've got fuck you money, they can do whatever they want, and they need a tax write-off. And no, don't give me the finger. I heard your intro last week. We're bringing this show into the 21st century, but that was 20 minutes in or something, so you're fine. Now, iTunes will never pick that up. Trust me, they don't listen that far. The bots, but no, they have ridiculous money, so they've got to write some off somehow. And like Half-Life Alyx is great if you're a millionaire and can afford the equipment, but if you're not, it's just a massive hole they've dunked their money into, which is probably good for them. Rather than pay tax, we'll just make a VR game that no one can afford to play. It's perfect.
Yeah, well, exactly. But apparently, Gabe Newell's also said that they need to dump some more money because they've got some new games in development that they'll be announcing. I don't. Again,
are they planning any trilogies?
Well, they might be. I was going to say they might be planning the first two entries to a trilogy.
Yeah.
They're sure as fuck not going to plan a third one because they can't count to 3.
Their problem is they're determined not to give away a free game a week, but they'll make games so that eventually they'll have enough to give a game away for free a week.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you been using the Epic Store much with your foray into PC gaming?
I have used it, to be honest with you. I felt dirty because a friend told me about it last year, and so I logged on every week and stole their free game or whatever else, and I never ticked the box because I don't want to help out the company that's doing it. They're giving you everything for free, but I'm not going to help you at all. So I did buy something recently. I know what it was. It was a bad purchase, I'm sure. I think it was a Ubisoft City Builder, Anno 1800, I think, which...
Oh, okay. Yeah, which is actually a decent
really
game.
Good game, yeah. Which I hope to play in the next lifetime if things align. I think with what's going on at the moment. But yeah, no, it does look really good. But I was glad to give them some money because they're giving away decent stuff, especially in the last month or so. They gave away a game a day or something. Some better than others, but all good if you don't own any PC games. So
yeah, exactly. It looks like, so again, for those who don't know, Gabe Newell has been essentially, he was quote unquote stranded in New Zealand over here. Because he was here on holiday when the pandemic started in March back last year. He was here on a 10-day holiday and just kind of was like, okay, well, I've got millions of dollars. I'm just going to move here. And there's been talk about getting Valve employees moved over here and that sort of stuff. But apparently they're looking at potentially moving the next Dota International to New Zealand as well, depending on how long the epidemic goes on, because it's hard for them to do it in a place like the States where it's fucking insane.
Everybody has COVID.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah.
Jeez.
But yeah, again, there's not a huge amount going on, but there's apparently some new games that they're working on. Who knows what they're going to be? I don't think they're ever going to do Half-Life 3. He does mention Half-Life 3 in the article, but he says we've definitely got games in development, and we're going to be back to announcing. It's fun to ship games. Alyx was great. We're back to doing single-player games. That created a momentum inside the company to do more of that. Which is great. That's what I want to hear, because that's the best things Valve does,
Yeah. But also the other side of the coin is that he doesn't need to make any games because people will make games for him for free. Look at the Dark Mesa. I mean, he's just sitting there laughing, as that.
To be fair, that took him a long time to make that game, though.
He can afford to hang around, He'll cryo-freeze himself. He's not going anywhere. So it doesn't, it's just amazing. They're in an amazing position. But no, I agree with you. I think it's exciting. Part of the problem is that, some of these massive companies or whatever else, they need to be reinvesting to make these games or whatever else, and hopefully they can employ the next generation of, because either you go indie games dev and you hope like hell you make some money so you can survive, or you go work for this company, make a bit of a bankroll, learn what you're doing, and then go off and make your own stuff too. So it's a win-win all the way around for us, I think.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And I joke, but a lot of those Valve games are some of my favorite ones that I've ever played. I'm a big fan of the original Half-Life, Half-Life 2 especially, and then Portal, of course, is just. I think
amazing.
The original Portal is pretty close to almost the perfect game in terms of a bite-sized chunk of getting the most out of a single mechanic, and that was back in 2007. So it's. But they have been more focused, I guess, on Dota has been their big thing since they acquired it, and that's kind of been their focus in terms of money making and updates and publishing, I guess. But I'm hoping that they talk about single player experiences, and that's really where I think they shine the most, or used to. I mean, hopefully they still have it. It's hard to say.
It's exciting with that Dota, isn't it? It reminds me we're getting to this point now where you're better off not to make a game, just make a shell and just charge microtransactions up the yang. And I think this Genshin Impact, I don't think you got it on the Xbox yet.
Not yet.
I hope they don't give it to you, but obviously, Sony has this massive thing, railing against EA, get your microtransactions out of our games or whatever else, probably because they can't figure out how to monetize it on their end because they're in for everything else. And then they let this Genshin Impact, which comes out of China somewhere, God knows where, and it's literally like, yeah, it's a beautiful world or whatever, but this thing is sucking thousands of dollars out of people, and it's a casino on the thing, which is unbelievable.
I'm pretty sure there was a YouTuber not too long ago that just completely said, I'm refusing to promote the game anymore because I can't support it.
Yeah.
I think it is Genshin.
Well, it's a wonderful game because Dota, and I know you talked about Overwatch, Kirby or whatever. These games are great at sucking out money over time from you, but this Genshin, it just rips it out of you in a couple of days. It's wonderful. So it's an exciting place to we will no longer be safe on consoles soon, which is wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, we've had the microtransaction chat, so many times because it's just like it's just so insidious and it's seeping into every part of the industry, unfortunately. And I'm really hoping that, and I think Sony have been pretty good about this, about moving away from everything having to be multiplayer, everything have to be transactable, everything having to be loot boxes and microtransactions, and just squeezing every dollar out of the person. There's nothing wrong with making a good, solid single player or co-op experience that just happens to be on its own. It doesn't have to have, it's fine if you make a sequel in a couple of years, but you don't have to get blood from the stone every single time. And I think something like, like God of War or the Spider-Mans that they came out with, I think are really good examples of that, where they were just happy to let those games be good games on their own merit.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, look, as every Xbox gamer knows, Sony gamers are very good at playing by themselves because they're the only people we can play with. But it's a wonderful system or whatever. So we won't throw any more shade on that wonderful blue platinum filled system.
All right, Cameron, what's this other story we've got in here?
All right, so this last story is just listing off some of the 2021 exclusives for the Xbox Series X/S / I don't know how many of these are actually for Xbox One as well.
Well, they said the first year anything that's first party will be on that, but I doubt anything else will be.
Yeah, because I just feel the more that time goes on, like I'll just lead into it straight away. Halo Infinite. I keep on feeling like the more that the year goes on, it's going to be less and less likely to see an Xbox One version.
Yeah, well, I think they just confirmed a couple of days ago that they got the launch window. The window for it is going to be end of this year, basically. Okay. So we'll see. I mean, I think that still leaves it just in maybe the Xbox One territory, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they just cut it.
Yeah, I feel like they need to, but.
Can I throw a news item at you? Because
go for it.
You may know this game. I've never played it, but the Microsoft Flight Sim, which came out towards the end of last year, I think it's coming to the Xbox Series X at some point soon. And I read. Yeah, and I read an article that the devs have not ruled out that there could be an Xbox version, which is wonderful coming off the back of Cyberpunk, how well that did on the base system. What's your opinion of that for Microsoft Flight Sim?
Yeah, so I was going to add the story in because I read that same article and I just thought, you know what, I don't know if I want to give these guys publicity and encourage that kind of. No, I'm joking, but. Given they don't want to encourage that kind of fucking behavior about going, oh, you know what, we got to rope in all these old consoles. I mean. Reading through it, I kind of see what they're saying. Like, again, it hasn't come out for the Series X yet. They have said that it's going to be a slightly different game because it just isn't the power that you'll get on an Ultra PC, even with these new consoles. But for it to run on the Xbox One, it's basically going to have to run on xCloud for that to even be a possibility. I can't see it running natively on the hardware. I just don't I don't think it would be able to handle it. And if it would look like. God, I can only imagine how bad it would look. Like, scary. Just because I mean, in terms of like flight simulator game is a technical achievement of which is.
I have the piece. Like, I have a beast of a PC that my friends built me, and I played probably 15, 20 minutes of it when I was doing the Game Pass challenge, and it is phenomenal. Like, it looks stunning.
Yeah, and I just don't think that. I think PlayStation have it right a bit more, where it's like they're going to have the split. And they say, no, these games are the PlayStation 5. These games are for the PlayStation 4. There's a couple of overlaps with the launch titles, but that's it.
Yeah.
And I think that I understand why Microsoft don't want to cut off what they have on the Xbox One in terms of player base. But I think the further and further away you get from launch, the less people are going to be, the more time these devs are going to have access to these new dev kits to run them on the new consoles, and the less incentive they have to run the stuff on the old ones. I mean, I kind of understand why you have crossover launch titles, because console comes out in November, you get a dev kit in July, you've got 3 or 4 months to start, do a build on it to build up to the stuff. It's easier to just build you continue working on the Xbox One version and then upscale it to a Series X version, or run it through backwards compatibility, or even just delay the Series X version like they did with Cyberpunk. When we're talking end of this year, that just seems ridiculous, because I mean that hardware is not getting any newer, and I just think that it's. I mean, again, we don't know what's going on. We only know what developers tell us, but the fact that this stuff could be holding us back in terms of what we could be seeing on the Series X, because it still needs to run on a One, I just think is to a detriment to Microsoft, even if they want to continue on this backwards compatibility and inclusivity idea of the market. I think that it's going to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, it's so funny, because I had a friend on our show the other week, and he made this comment, and I hadn't thought about it, but it's so true, and it's so bizarre, this system we're living in or whatever. But Sony, big thing they were pushing this whole time was they believe in generations. They're big at slogans, they're not always big at following through, but we believe in generations or whatever. And then every game they've released is on PS4 and PS5. We see today Resident Evil Village will be on the PS4. God help us all, how that's going to run. But then on the flip side, Microsoft are like, we're the opposite or whatever. And then the Medium comes out and it's, oh no, it'll be on everything. And then the Medium comes out, and I believe it's only going to be on Xbox Series X and PC, not support the base one. So it's but I agree with you. I think I was shocked when I saw the Village thing. I think at some point you have to draw a line, and nobody wins when they sit in the middle. We saw that. We've seen that already. So it'll be interesting to see this year. Yeah,
I think Village will be the one to watch, I think. And I think you're 100% right, because that comes out in May. They just announced.
Yes, yeah.
Which is, for those who don't know, Resident Evil 8. They just did a live stream earlier today with some more information about it.
They're doing a multiplayer as well, yeah?
Yes, they're doing this reverse. Yeah, which looks okay. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the things that they've done in the past with their multiplayer modes.
We've enjoyed multiplayer multiple times, haven't we, Matt? Resident Evil.
Yeah, I need to. Yeah. Anyway, it's but like May and coming out with a last gen version. Just, I mean, I get it, because Capcom are just massively money grubbing. And they don't do backwards compatibility. Like, that's not in their book.
And the only time I've seen that is, did you see the arcade cabinet? I think it was $200 US for 10 of their retro games.
Yeah,
Something
it's crazy.
Ridiculous.
So that they just don't do it. I mean, I've bought the Resident Evil collection for 4, 5, and 6 on both the 360 and the Xbox One, because you definitely couldn't play one on the other, and I still have to finish up Resident Evil 5 before I can. It's one of those games that I have on the 360 that I can't disconnect because it's not backwards compatible. One achievement left on that one too, actually.
How'd they get you?
Yeah.
So should we go through this list and just say a quick comment?
Just pick out a few ones that you think look interesting.
All right. So Crossfire X, which is Remedy, for the campaign?
Yeah, so Remedy are doing the campaign for that. I'm interested to see what it is, but obviously it has a huge multiplayer base, especially in the Asian markets for PC already. So I don't know how much it'll get uptake on that, but I'll be interested to see if they do separate achievement lists for sure, because I love Remedy's work.
I would love a Crackdown kind of style thing.
Yeah, me too.
What else? We already talked about Halo, we talked about Flight Sim. Medium, pretty excited about it, less than a week away.
Yeah, that looks really good. That looks really, really good.
What else we got?
I love Bloober Team stuff. Yeah, Psychonauts. I mean, Psychonauts 2 finally coming out. Maybe.
If it doesn't get it got delayed once, yeah.
Oh, it's been delayed many times. Okay. Yeah, it's it's the original Psychonauts was an original Xbox game, to put it in perspective.
Jeez.
He's just trying to develop a really annoying mini game that's going to just block you from getting the 100% of the platinum, because he did it the first time, and it's always hard to replicate it the second time.
I mean, look, I think it was like back in the day, Zero Punctuation. Yahtzee had the when he was talking about Psychonauts, like it was one of his first videos he ever did. He said Psychonauts is a great game, but one of its big problems is that it had less of a difficulty curve and more of a difficulty dump truck. In that you basically get to the meat circus, and then which is like the last area of the game, and the game just turns into Dark Souls. Like it's crazy how much more difficult that part of the game is. And I'm hoping that they've taken some cues and they might rebalance some things up a little bit. I'm actually really excited for it though, because I love the original game for all its flaws.
Yeah.
Of course. So I'll be interested to see what they do with that.
Very interesting. 12 minutes.
Yeah, that's the
ones with James McAvoy, Daisy
Ridley. Yeah, so it's the Annapurna game where it's like on a reset clock, and you basically need to do the sort of building behind that game around it being like, okay, well, it was going to be like a week-long thing, and then they cut it down. It's like, actually, let's maybe just do like a couple of days, and then it was like, let's just do one day, and it's like, what if we just made it like an hour? And I was like, no, it's just 12 minutes. The whole game is just 12 minutes, and you just need to sort your shit out.
Very interested about it.
The amount of detail that they can do in that, I'm really, really excited by it. I quite like a lot of Annapurna stuff.
Yeah.
It's a bit out there and interesting, and I think I hope we see more of it.
I'm just hoping this has a really good story and just something to really sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
Tunic looks really cute.
Tunic looks adorable. I've seen it at a few E3s that do trailers for it. The indie guys for it usually appear on the Giant Bomb couch each year. And talking about what they've been working on. They've been working on it for a long time, but it's got some. It's like it's very twee.
What else have we got? The Gunk.
The Gunk.
I barely know anything about the Gunk, to be honest.
Well, I don't. They haven't really shown much about it. I think it's the
trailer,
same guys, SteamWorld, the SteamWorld guys, right?
Yeah.
So it's a sort of third-person puzzle action game with some platforming in it, and it looks like it's got like a lot of fluid mechanics, and like it's kind of got like your Blinks the Time Sweeper style vacuum cleaner, but with like, I guess, I don't know. Like I want to see more about it. It looks really, really fascinating. The SteamWorld guys have put out some really quality games. Most of them I just haven't had a chance to really put any time into on the Xbox, but yeah, I trust them for sure.
I think it's one of those things that I have them in my library, but I've never touched them.
Yeah.
Kind of situation.
Classic.
One of the ones that I'm adding to my list this year of my goals, Yakuza Remastered Collection.
Yeah. Excellent choice.
And The Song of Life.
Song of Life, what is that?
Yakuza 6.
Right.
Where are you starting? Are you just doing them randomly, or are you...
So, I am playing through Kiwami at the moment.
Okay, good.
I've dived Kiwami on both PC and Xbox. Kiwami 2 and 0.
Yeah.
Those games are a completionist nightmare.
I know, but it's so good.
I know they're really, really good. I might go and do 0 or something. I know 0 was a really good one. People have been raving about 7.
I'm so torn. Like I've got 7 as well. Yep, cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've watched so many videos. I wasn't sure where to start. If I should start with 0 or should start with Kiwami, but Kiwami's been really bloody good. But I mean, like, I'm going to try and do all of them. What else is there? Is there any other games that you want to throw out? Scorn looks interesting for a first person here.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, Scorn in terms of horror thing, yeah, I quite like the H.R. Geiger styling and that sort of thing. Looks, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. They've got a little bit to prove, because it looks like I'm worried it'll turn into like another Agony or something like that, where it's just kind of like shock factor and not a lot to it.
See, I was talking to Nikita the other day, and I can't think of anybody other than Bloober Team that has done good horrors for Xbox.
Yeah, I would agree.
So it'll be very interesting to see if we can get some, I guess, more mature kind of content. I mean, all these other ones just seem like indies that I haven't really heard of.
Yeah, there's a couple of, like, what was the first one that was in there?
Adios?
No, so the Artful Escape, I know they showed off
as
a reel, which looked really, really beautiful, but again, I don't know what kind of game it'll be. So, well, we'll see. But again, there are a few games, nothing... Again, I'm not buying anything this year, so I'll play the stuff that comes to Game Pass, and I'll probably enjoy bits and pieces of it. But I'm not. There's not really anything this year that's super grabbing me. I'm interested in Resident Evil, but I'll definitely wait to see what other people say about it. But yeah, it's hopefully there's more stuff coming along the line. Hopefully we have like a pseudo E3 or something that'll announce some new stuff, and I'll be very interested to see what Bethesda are doing.
be very interesting year to see because there's going to be so much changes with all the announcements.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Do we want to get into what we're playing? Because I know we're running a bit long.
Yeah. CJ, you wanted to go first?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief then. I've mainly been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I know this podcast is in danger of becoming an Assassin's Creed cast, really, over the last few episodes or whatever. But, just to pick up on it, I'm like about 100 hours into it now, and the game, I know the guide says 120 or something. I don't know about that, but it's a massive game, and I know your guest the other week you were talking about it a lot, and I totally agree. We were thinking about it the other day, and if you played those original Ezio Collection and 3, and even Black Flag, Syndicate, they're and even Unity to a degree, they're the Assassin's Creed game that we know or whatever. But the last 3, they've really changed. They sort of had the Witcher element there in the Origins a little bit, but they've developed it, and I like to joke that it's basically a single-player, multiplayer, massive world, an MMO, without a subscription. And this one, it really is, because without getting into it, one of the big problems that I've had with these big games, Assassins in particular, is that it's so hard to hold a narrative thread when the game has so much bloat in it, so much collection, so many things to do, and so many side things. And they've really addressed that this time by having, your prefectures or your areas, if you like, and having a self-contained, about a 4-chapter story within that then leads to an overall story. And it means that you can knock one of these out in maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. You don't, and then you move on to the next one, and they sort of relate a bit, but not really. And I think it's a really clever way of doing it. I think it's also the first time they've really put the level gating in that this time, the other times it was there a bit, but this time it is very much there in that, if the things get too far ahead of you, it becomes very difficult or whatever. So it's a nice balance of having to do some of the collections and the side stories with it. And then the other thing that I really like is that, Assassin's Creed, Origins and Odyssey, it was 100 hours, 150 hours of just basically running from point to point and enjoying the story and doing it. But there was nothing difficult in there. There were no puzzles or whatever. This time they've gone for the approach, especially with many of the side quests, that it's not obvious where you need to go, and it's not obvious even what you need to do, and some are very abstract, and it's quite possible you'll need a bit of a mini guide to even get started on some, because some guy will tell you about a ring, and then you've got to laterally leap to the fact that you should be fishing over in this other spot to catch a fish that's eaten the ring, and it doesn't always link it, and that's what I like about it. I think it's going to get you to play it. Well, I suppose achievement hunters perhaps maybe not, but it's going to get you to play it over a long period of time and chip away at it. I don't think it's the sort of game you're going to enjoy just, balls to the wall 100 hours or whatever, because there's so many little things to discover. And I know, it's not everyone's cup of tea, for them to go in that direction, but it's something that I really like, and I think it was amazing that they were snubbed a little bit, for Game of the Year and stuff, because technically, I mean, to have it run, and I'm playing it on the Series X, to have it run like that and look like that, it's just mind-boggling, because if you play MMOs, you're going to take a graphic hit. There's no way they can have the graphics of a single-player game or whatever, with all the mechanics and the online nature of the game. But for this, to still have so much depth, to have these quest lines, to have a city building as well in there, as almost jobs as well, in a way, it's amazing, the graphical fidelity, how well it runs or whatever else as well. So I think it's, if you don't like these games, you're not going to like it, but if you're open to it, it's really worth investing. Yeah, sure, it's going to take you 20 hours to get your teeth into it or whatever, but then once you do, I think it'll just, I can't stop playing it, because I have Yakuza 7 as well, which I want to start before I go back to work, because if I don't start, I'll never get into it, and it's just every night, it's like, I'll just go back to Assassins. So I think that's a good thing, but yeah, it's an amazing game.
Two questions for you there, then. First one, do you think it is more linear than Odyssey?
Odyssey was a funny one, because I thought the best content in Odyssey was in the DLC.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, particularly the second DLC, the Atlantis one, was phenomenal. Well, the first one was interesting, though. I think my problem with Odyssey was that it's very hard to remember what the story was, because it was one narrative thread throughout the game that took you 100 hours to play through, because there was so much other stuff. This one, it's a simpler thread, and because it's broken into sections or whatever, I think In some ways, this one is more linear because you pledge to a certain area and that starts the quest line. Now, once you've started that quest line, you can't abandon it to pledge to another area. So in that regard, it is. But the world is open. You can travel, and this may disgust some of your listeners, but some of my trophy hunting friends did exactly that. They did all the collectibles first. They did all the side stuff first. Spent 50, 60 hours doing that, then came back and played the story. So it does allow you to do that if that's the sort of gamer you are. And I think. I mean, you were talking about, content before, but there's two sort of side worlds in there as well, and they're big enough that they could have been sold as the 2 DLC packs, which is really exciting for what's coming next. And, I know not everyone likes Ubisoft or whatever, but they've shown that they will support their games, Division 2, all these things, maybe not Breakpoint so much, but they have shown that they can. And, I think that's exciting if you want to play a solely single-player game.
Second question is, how do you feel with the controversy of Odyssey's, leveling? Do you feel like they fixed it in Valhalla?
Yeah, it's funny because when I played Origins and Odyssey, and I know this will disgust you, but it doesn't worry me. They offered a booster pack or whatever else that you could buy, and I chose to do that. And the reason I chose to do that is because I like to play a lot of games, and it makes the game quicker. It definitely makes it quicker, and so I could experience more things. So this is the first one that I've played without any booster pack or anything. I didn't buy any good-looking horse or anything.
Is there booster packs in Valhalla?
I think
yeah, there would be.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me because they did it for Origins and because they did a level skip for Origins, right? And they mainly did it for Odyssey.
Like I've played a bit of Valhalla, and I just can't remember seeing booster packs.
Have you gone to you actually looked in the actual Helix store or whatever they call it? Because they usually didn't.
I'm trying to think.
I think they got a lot of flack for Odyssey for like making that front and center and like pushing it on people.
Yeah.
So I imagine if they put it back in there, they probably wouldn't quite make it that obvious, but people know to look for it.
Like there'd definitely be cosmetic stuff, but yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I think it was
out.
there, but it may have even been taken down. I don't know, but it's definitely not one that you need because there's more than enough stuff. Like I think it seems like once you get to power level or whatever, 350, you can basically do anything, but it goes up to 450, I'm told, and there's enough stuff to get to 450, so it works quite well. Yeah, there's enough that you can feel it, but it's not holding you back, sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like in Odyssey there was a point where you felt like you had to buy it because it just was a grind otherwise.
Yeah, no, it's hard to tell, but it seems like there's no XP leveling, is that the right word? In that it doesn't seem to, as you get higher in the levels, it doesn't seem like the XP gap gets bigger. So the XP gap actually stayed. I could be wrong here. Someone's probably like, he's full of shit. But I think that's pretty much right. And the side quests are worth about the same, the whole way through the game. So you don't feel like, I know what you're saying, but it doesn't feel like you get to, like I think I'm at 310 now, and I'm moving just as quickly or quicker than I was at, 20 or 30. So, yeah.
All right. It's definitely on the list. I do very much enjoy the Assassin's Creed. It's just finding the time is the tricky bit.
Yeah, that's worth it.
Anything else you've been playing?
I'll throw one more out because that's always a dangerous question to ask me. Cameron knows I'm not bad at talking, so sometimes you've got to shut me up or whatever. But I did play. I know you talked about Immortal Phoenix Rising the other week, so I'm not going to touch on that. But I'll throw one that I haven't heard you guys talk about. It is on PS5 or PS4 and 5, I suppose, Xbox Series X and the PC, and it's called Visage. Although for us English speakers, I suppose we call it Visage, from a French developer in Quebec, in Canada. There now, I believe it's a very small team, may even be like a one-person team or something else. It's a game that developed over time. It's in 3 chapters, but all is playable now if you buy it or whatever. It's survival horror, not a genre that I play a lot of or whatever else, but it's really, really good. If you like this sort of genre, you're going to love this game. It builds the fear and the horror slowly at the start, very slowly or whatever else. But it's the game that it does have a presence in there that's following you and doing stuff. So there is that tension if you don't like it, and it actually comes with a warning at the start of the game that if you have issues with suicide and this stuff, and it does start with a very graphic opening scene as well. And it's not. I know you get a lot of violence in Call of Duty, but this is it's sort of the way it sets it up. It's quite in your face or whatever else. The puzzles are very, very difficult, as you'd expect with an independent developer or whatever else. But it's a really good game, and I'd say if you're looking at the length, because I know it's not that cheap for an indie game. On the store or whatever. Each chapter is around 2 hours if you know what you're doing, but unless you're watching a video, you're not going to know what you're doing, so it's going to be much, much longer than that. And just exploring this warped mind that made it is wonderful.
Yeah, it looks great, actually. This is right up my alley in terms of stuff.
Square Studios.
Interesting. Okay, I'm looking. I'm watching the Steam trailer at the moment. That looks really, really fascinating.
Inspired by the cancelled project of PT.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, very much.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
I can. This is the kind of game that we could never convince Kirby to play. That's for sure.
I don't.
Strap into a chair, chuck him there. It's fine.
I don't like these sort of games at all, but I get egged on to play them sometimes, and I want to see what's going on. And for some reason, I decided it'd be awesome to start this game at midnight the other night. And I'm like a 40-year-old dude, so midnight's an achievement to me. And so I played to midnight to 2 a.m. and I got to this bit. It's really intense with these mirrors, and of course something happens or whatever else, and I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. So it's good. It's good. It will get you going for sure.
All right, I'll definitely put it on the list for sure. That looks great.
But what have you two been playing?
I'll just rattle through what I've been doing. Nothing too exciting. So I'm working through Resident Evil 3 again. So it's Resident Evil 3 Biohazard Z, the Japanese version. I'm done my 3 playthroughs or so. 3 playthroughs on my last one. 4 playthroughs actually. So I'm on my Inferno playthrough where you have to get through the game with only 5 saves, under 2.5 hours. But you can use the rocket launcher, so it's relatively easy. But it's the same thing I hate in all of those games where you make one mistake and suddenly you've lost an hour of progress and you need to start again because you haven't, your last save was miles ago.
So weren't we just talking before about like Limbo?
Limbo. Same sort of thing. I hate those kinds of things. I really do. But it's I've done it before on Resident Evil 3, and I can do it again. And having an infinite rocket launcher that lets you blow up every zombie within a 2-mile radius is very, very helpful. It's just when Nemesis shows up to punch you in the face that it gets a little hairy.
So what you're saying is Limbo needs rocket launchers, and you'll play it.
I'm going to say absolutely. If Limbo had a thing where I could just blow through every single puzzle, just be like, nah, fuck this, then yeah, I would have that achievement done already.
Yeah.
I've also been playing through Indivisible yet again on PC for PC because it's leaving PC Game Pass at the end of this month. It's leaving Game Pass in general, I believe, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it just leaving on PC or is it leaving?
No, it's leaving on both, but I've already done the original. Okay. I'm actually enjoying it. I enjoyed it. I just finished it yesterday. I enjoyed it actually quite a bit more than I did the first time. I think part of it was kind of understanding. Listeners will know that like my issue that I had with the game, and I know a lot of people quite liked it, was that the combat it's kind of brain dead. I know that people compare it to like a fighting game because it's like you need this like timing involved, and the way it works is you have 4 characters and they're each mapped to one of your face buttons, and you tap the face button and you can basically do them in whatever order you want, and they have like an up. Like if you hold down up, it'll do a modified attack, and if you hold down, it'll do a modified attack. So you can string combos together using various characters. There's like 15 different characters to use, so there's quite it's larger than your average RPG party. But the problem I had with it, and like I started running into this again, was you find a build that works and you basically just stick with it because the enemy variety isn't really that great. They don't, like, in terms of like weaknesses and strengths, there's no real elemental stuff. It's really just active time battle, mash, heal, mash. And it's like sometimes you need to launch enemies into the air, sometimes you need to break the guard by doing an up and then a down attack. But those parts are few and far between. And then a lot of the enemies are reskins later in the game, where it's just like it's a different color, has more health. And the environments are reused quite a bit. So there's 3 areas you need to travel to, and you need to travel to each of them, one of them at least 3 times, the other one's twice. And you kind of just do the story beat there. I think the best part of the game is probably the platforming. which I wasn't a huge fan of to start with, but there's a mountain that you climb up at the end of each act, and each act you get higher and higher on it, but you got to start from the very bottom each time. But the traversal abilities that you've learned in true sort of Metroidvania style help you get through that a lot quicker. So there's one where it's like, you can bounce off your spear to jump higher, and then there's like you can dash upwards, and then you've got like a splitting attack and then bouncing off walls. So each time you climb the mountain, it gets easier, but of course you need to get higher on it, so they add more specific puzzles towards your abilities. And so I think knowing the combat, knowing what the story was, kind of having a better idea of what places to go to first, because it kind of gives you this idea of saying, hey, you've got 3 areas to go to. You need to go to these 3 areas to beat a boss and activate a MacGuffin. You can pick whatever one you like, which is actually a trap, because if you pick one, each of them has a point where you get to a part where it says, oh, you can't progress any further to this area until you have this ability. So you need to come back. So, for example, like I did like the city first, and then I did the castle, and then I did the ruins. When really, if you do the castle first, you get an ability that helps you all the way through the ruins, which then gives you an ability that will get you all the way through the city, which then allows you to go back to the castle and do that half of it. But if you did them in the wrong order, you'd end up just running back and forth, which is what I did the first time I played through it. So having a better understanding of the game itself, that I think is like I don't want to give the game credit.
I've done the exact same thing.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah. You get it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, is that like if you know which one to go to first and you have that prior knowledge, the game actually flows relatively well. But without that, the game just kind of leaves you on your ass, and you're like, well, what am I doing? And because you don't get fast travel until you've beaten each of those areas for the first time, like it becomes a real slog, and really, really dampened my enjoyment of the game. Playing through it the second time, I knew what I was doing. I knew I had a build that worked for the combat. I got better at the combat in terms of timing and the collectibles, and yeah, I just smashed through it, got through it in about 16 hours, and actually had a pretty good time with it. I still don't think it's an amazing game. I think it's like lacking in its platforming and its combat. Like it does decently in both, platforming better than the combat, but I still think that it's a little bit oversold, underdelivered. But like I still love the art style. I still love the aesthetic of the sort of Southeast Asian thing that we don't see a lot of in games. And just the variety of stuff that they put in there is quite good. And, the number of characters and the voice acting is good. And, everything around it is great for an indie game. But it's just the core gameplay just doesn't quite hit the mark. We've also been playing some Black Ops.
Yeah.
We did Moon last night, which was really good. Until someone apparently lost his batteries and had to disappear.
So what happened was my controller was going flat. So I'm like, all right, guys, we're at the end of the round. We'll train the zombie or whatever. I'll quickly swap it over. We'll be all good. Swap over the batteries. Controller. Every single controller I have, which is about 6, would not resync to my console. I'm still having issues with it today.
So we're running around I'm running around circles trying to keep zombies off of camera and trying to figure out, so what the hell is he doing? Has he lost the batteries? The only batteries in a remote that he's left somewhere? What is he doing?
Like right there, like right in front of me. I swapped it out in like less than 10 seconds, and it just would not reconnect to the console.
Yeah,
but back in the old day, Cameron, when you had enough of playing, you just kick the Ethernet cord out. But now you're really elaborate. With your 6 controllers.
He didn't want to play anymore. We'd done the Easter egg.
Got wired. I tried everything, absolutely everything, and I was thinking, for such a run, thank God that it didn't happen during.
Oh yeah, thank God that it happened after we were done with the. So we did the Moon Easter egg. Thank you, Kiku. You did a great job, mate.
And it was the luck we pulled.
We got like, oh man, RNGesus was on our side. Like we were rolling to paradise. Like because it was
Adrian time at the box, just like, oh, I'll get a ray gun, no problem, or I'll get
he got the ray gun, I got the zap gun. We pretty much got everything we needed straight out of the box. Worked out well. We had a couple of setbacks, but realistically, we absolutely smashed it. So we got a few more achievements to go. We've still got 2 more maps to do in terms of Easter eggs before we finish with it. But we finally made some good progress after stalling for a little bit.
Are you done with Moon now, or do you need?
No, I still need the making sure that the 3 areas aren't breached.
Ground control. Yep.
So we'll do that at some stage. But everyone knows what that's like anyway.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I've been playing just finally is Sea Salt, which is the other game that's leaving Game Pass that people care about. It is a RTS kind of,
Yeah.
Pixel art style. Basically, it's basically all Lovecraftian and Cthulhu-esque. Although Cthulhu's not mentioned by name, it's all about Dagon. But basically, the gist of it is there's a bishop who runs basically an archbishop that runs this whole religion dedicated to the great deep ones and the eldritch horrors that reside there. And he has been told, hey, here's who to sacrifice. And he finds his own name on the list and he says, fuck that, I'm not going to sacrifice myself. And the deep ones take great offense to that and decide to rise out of the water and slaughter the entire village all the way up until the cathedral. So you control essentially an ethereal ghost that can't be hurt, and you basically direct these minions around the various defenses that the town have built up from knights with swords and fedoras to guys with guns to flaming pitchforks and torches and Molotov cocktails and dogs and all this kind of stuff, and you just kind of work your way through the defenses, summoning various units, defeating the Archbishop's legions of his lieutenants, and they're all sort of the boss battles. It's a pretty good game, but again, it kind of devolves into the best build is to just use cultists and fishmen.
God damn you, I haven't got fishmen yet. Really
fishmen are great. They're great because they have medium medium health and attack, and they terrify most of the weaker enemies, so they run away from you, so they don't even have a chance to hit you. It's kind of interesting. It's semi-roguelike because the whole idea is that you do various runs and there's sort of split paths, so there's incentives to play through the game a few times. It's not a very long game. I'm on the last area. I have a run in front of me. Actually, the last area of my hard playthrough. So it's not a terribly difficult game. I'm looking to see what the arenas are going to be like though, because
I'm just very bad.
Yeah,
arenas. I don't know. They're pretty okay from what I played so far.
Yeah. So the recommendation is to unlock one of the other characters that you can play as. They all have sort of bonuses to the various minions you can summon, and then a certain minion. There's a hermit minion that creates a shield, and there's a creature called there's a minion called the Creature, which is like a long range attacker. So you basically put it in the shield, get the creature out, and it just kills everything around it.
With the apostle, that is the less units you have, the more damage.
Yeah, less minions you have out, the more damage you do, which is sort of counterintuitive because normally you just want to have a huge swarm. But it is very, very satisfying in that kind of, once you're good at the game and you kind of understand how the mechanics work and how to bait enemies. There was one level in the sewers where I ended up with about 40 just hell creatures that are just demolishing barricades and ripping through people, and just it's great. The shtick wears a little thin, and they don't really have a huge amount of enemy variety. And I'm not a huge fan of having to play through things more than once, but it's short enough. Hopefully I'll finish it. I'm going to try and get it done this weekend. But yeah, I'd recommend it. If you're hearing this, you definitely have enough time. If you're just hearing this when it comes out on Tuesday, you have just enough time probably this week to finish it. But you'd be cutting it pretty close.
I'll throw in the quick pointer too that if you have your Y thing is to activate. You collect coins off dead enemies, which you use to press Y and then summon minions. You can cheese the game on normal difficulty by having that filled up, having your last unit die, and then within half a second pressing Y, summoning a unit, will bug out most of the enemies so they don't move except for the dogs and the firefighters.
Yeah. But I only had to do that once. The game is not that difficult. On hard mode, it's a bit more challenging. But yeah, Cameron's just terrible at it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Cameron, what have you been playing?
So I won't go into, briefly just mentioned, I've been playing Sea Salt as well. We did the Black Ops Easter egg for the moon. Did a little bit of Homefront Revolution with both Adrian and Alex. Pretty much just going through the general multiplayer stuff on the different difficulties and just getting away with it. Not really much to mention there. Love talking about my racing games. I've done most of Forza Horizon. There wasn't really much to clean up on, minus the DLCs. I've just got to do the online, and then that should be the base completion. Call of the Wild, I started a bit last night. There's not really that much to mention other than the fact it's a hunting game. It has
Brad loves that game. What are you talking about? That's his game of the year every year.
It's got essentially I've set myself 7 challenges for the year. One of them is to complete one of the 10 highest True Achievements games, and this is number 1. So I just thought, all right, I'll just put a night in each week, see how far I can get.
Is it actually hard? Is it, or is it...
I think it's one of those games that just starts off looking daunting. But in terms of, like, I think it's like 12, no, I think it's 30,000 TA. I'm thinking 12.
It's got a crazy amount of TA, yeah.
So it must be really hard.
So I think it's just one of those games that a lot of people start, like, number 1, it's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
A lot of people start it just, alright, I'll play this for a few hours, maybe with some mates, and I won't get anything more than like 50G in it.
Yeah, I see.
Then they'll leave it. I think most of, I think...
Well, okay, yeah, like in terms of TA, it's a 10.0 ratio, so it's not like it is definitely high, but it is not crazy high because it does have a 3,730 gamer score.
Basic completion is like 120 to 150 hours. So
yeah, so there's a lot of, and only 5 people have completed that and all the DLC. So, and it's been played by a lot of people. So again, ratio wise, you should probably be organizing by ratio, not by true achievement score, but for your competition.
Oh well, I set my own goals, so it's fine. But I mean,
trash, I'll tell you.
Huh? What was that?
Hey, he's up on him. He's done this amazing list. He's even given them little subtitles. I mean, he's spent a good amount of time, probably longer than he'll play most of the games on the list, but he spent a wonderful amount of time on that list, and it reads wonderfully. It's good to have goals.
I was going to say, it looks hard for the most part, but like there's stuff like the Racer, where complete every Forza Horizon. I've done most of them. It's not going to be that insanely difficult to get.
That's true. This is true. This is true. You've got a good head start on that one.
Halo, same thing. Got most of them done. But yeah. The one that I really want to talk about this week is Yakuza. Because I started Kiwami and it is amazing, and I really wish I'd started these games sooner. Yeah. Like it's just I can't describe it other than an RPG mixed in with like a GTA kind of feel in some ways, which doesn't sound right, but
yeah, well, I remember, like, I played the original Yakuza on the PlayStation 2 back in the day when it came out, this is a remake of, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So the way I always remembered it was it felt like GTA, but condensed down into all the best parts with none of the fluff.
Yeah.
In terms of like area that you work in, like it's like, okay, there's no real open space. It's like you turn a corner, there is something there for you to do.
To add into that, condensed down to all the best parts, and then expanded outwards again with crazy ass fucking mini games.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's like there's always something on every corner. There's always something to do, someone to talk to, some weird fight, some weird thing with a tiger. Like just,
walk into a random store, just like, oh, okay, this is Japanese adult video store.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like the kind of stuff that you didn't get on the GTA was all about being expansive. Like GTA 3 was like, oh yeah, we've got this huge open world. This whole city. You can't go in any of the buildings. Yeah. Most of it's just there for set dressing. There's a couple of collectibles, but that's it.
So Nikita sat with me for like an hour or two and watched me play this, and she said she was absolutely astounded. Like she spent I want to say like 2 weeks in Japan for an exchange program back in like year 10 or year 11. She said like everything's just so crazy like we can't go over to Japan. She wants to take me and Persephone so much, but she said this is the next closest thing is me playing this game at the moment. There's just so much to do, and I know it's going to be a completionist nightmare, but I actually am really enjoying, like, even I'm trying to think what the character's name is, but he's a cop. At one point he challenges you to fight him. You fight him. You're walking down the street. This guy at the front of this bar is just like, you need to come in and try these 2 amazing drinks, and it's like, all right, yeah, sure. He's the bartender, like just out of nowhere.
I love it.
Out of nowhere, and then he just gives you the whole like, we're best buddies kind of spiel. Like, I'll serve you the best cocktails. Serves him 2 drinks. Just like, all right, yep, cool. All right, I'm gonna have to charge you now. This is 56 million yen. Like 56 million yen. What do you mean? It's like, it's okay. We're best buds. I've given you a 90% discount.
Yeah, it's a racket.
And then just so many twists and turns, and like I'm torn because I'm usually that kind of player that skips cutscenes, but I'm finding myself pulling myself away a bit more from the skip just to see what crazy thing is going to happen next.
Wow, that's very unlike you.
I know.
I'm impressed.
Saying that at the same time, the combat is absolutely amazing. And it had, like, you know, if you want to go the rush mode, you can go the rush mode. If you want to do, like, the heavy, hard-hitting attacks, you can do that. It's just a really, really good polished game. And I'll be very interested if I do manage to get the completion for some of them this year, how Kiwami is actually going to end up next to Zero. Because essentially they're the same game, is my understanding.
Yeah, so by Zero, Zero was a completely original game though. So like Kiwami obviously is a remake, so they kind of had to stick with what they had. Whereas Zero apparently is quite a good jumping off point for a lot of them in terms of new mechanics and things that they've added to get people into the story as well.
I'm really glad that you've started playing that series, Cameron, because it's so funny to hear people that start playing Japanese RPGs, and you know, especially ones that aren't totally anime or whatever, although they're still valid too, of course. And I don't want to create any shade in your audience here, but the more of these Western RPGs you play, the more similar they all become. And then you go and play a Japanese RPG like Yakuza or whatever, and you don't, it's what you said, you don't know what you're going to expect. And
then there's a guy in his underpants just,
the adult baby. That's right. And there's you may not have got to him yet, but the ultra strong man as well comes in, and you have to take him on or he steals your money. Like, he's a recurring character. And then you have your idol culture as well, with your hostesses as well. And there's so much in there. It's almost like a life sim in a way within the game. But I'm glad that you're not skipping, because the story is amazing.
I watched some like there's one YouTube channel I watch which is what is it called? The girlfriend like watching from the background of like what your boyfriend is playing and reacting to it. She did a video on it, and the Michael Jackson Thrilled video.
Oh yeah.
I cannot wait to get to that mission.
Yeah, it's so good. Girlfriend reviews.
Yeah, girlfriend reviews. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. What I'll be interested in, and what will stop you, Cameron, I already know, from getting the completion is the Mahjong, because the Mahjong will take you 20 to 30 hours, depending on how well good you know Mahjong. If you don't know it at all, you're in for a
Mahjong is fucking hard.
Really tough time, yeah. That's definitely the hardest part of the game for a Western audience, for sure. But good luck with that. And you get to do it 7 times, because it's in every one.
Yep, exactly.
So I think quickly, before I jump off I will say what my 7 goals are for the year. So, number 1 is to complete the Forza Horizon series, including Forza Horizon 2 for 360, if I can find a copy that is cheaper than $70.
Oof.
Fuck's sake, it's just ridiculous, like, game that old, but... anyway, Marksman is basically completing every Call of Duty game that hasn't hit Windows. The Iconic is pretty much for finishing every Halo, except for the... I guess lesser known entries like Spartan Assault, Spartan Strike, that kind of stuff. I'm talking about mainly the main games. Foreigner, getting all the Yakuza remasters completions. Obviously there's going to be the 3, 4, 5, and 6 being added throughout the year as well, so that'll be interesting. Buffet, completing 12 games in Game Pass over 12 months. Key is completing Kingdom Hearts series.
Yakuza and Kingdom Hearts in 1 year. Good luck.
I'm not gonna put up much Gamerscore this year, but damn, I want to get some serious completion. If I can finish this year and say like I have all the CODs done, I have all the Forza Horizons done, I have all the Yakuzas done, and I have Kingdom Hearts done, that would be a bloody big accomplishment in my opinion.
It's a wonder you've ever touched a woman, mate. I'm sorry. That's exactly. I hate to be the one to say it, but that's exactly what the audience are thinking. Like, come on, are you fucking insane?
I know that I'm punching well above my weight.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
And then the last one is just having something that has the highest scoring on TA. But yeah, I think that's where I'll finish off, and we can jump into the questions of the week.
Yeah, we'll just smash through these pretty quickly because we're running over a bit, but that's all right. I'd rather be running over than under. So Ninja Gaiden is easy, which is a lie, but apparently that's his name.
I just love how I'm just like, let's trigger Alex. Let's trigger Alex.
Triggers me too, to be honest. Ninja Gaiden 2 is another one of those games and 3 are probably ones that I'll never finish because of my skill ceiling. His question is, will you still be achievement hunting in 10 years? I don't even know if the achievement system is going to be around in 10 years.
Depends on what the ecosystem looks like, I think.
Yeah, I think if it's going the way that I've been seeing it going, probably not. Because my buying things, my not buying things might extend out more years if things don't improve, to be honest.
See, I feel weird about it because I feel like it's part of my identity too, now that I've won, like, Hall of Fame and stuff like that. Like,
you're also on this podcast.
Yeah, that's...
You're trapped.
I'll just drag the chain behind me. That's fine.
I'm with you, right? Like it's. Like,
you're
I've been
here
doing
with
this.
me too. Okay, Kirby's the one who got out. All right, cool.
Yeah, Kirby got out exactly. So I mean, yeah, like I'm with you though because it's like I've been doing this for what, almost 13 and a half years now.
I can't fathom that because back in the 360 days, I played, like, all I played was COD, and that was for regional tournaments. Everything from the Xbox One onwards has been achievement hunting.
Yeah, so like in terms of achievement hunting for me, it's been a huge part of my life. I wasn't as like I was interested in the achievement hunting concept from the minute I heard about it, right? From the thing, like it like something clicked, and it was like I need to do this.
You got off the the heavy drugs and you switched to a more reasonable dopamine fix.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it was so there was an old podcast. It was the first podcast I ever listened to. This was way back in the day. I'll give them a shout out now because they're well gone now. But it was called NoobTube, and so this was back in what, like 2006 roughly.
Wait, podcasts existed back then?
Yeah, so like, again, it was one of like early, like we're talking early podcasts, like audio only.
Yep.
They, I remember that it was back when YouTube wasn't shit, and they got featured like their first video episode 23, and it was just a couple of guys from the Bay Area just sitting. They were sitting in front of a because they worked in game development, but they didn't say what games they worked for. Yep. And they were just sitting in front of a camera with boxed wine. Like the shittiest boxed wine ever, and just talking shit about video games for like a couple hours or like an hour and a bit. And it was like my mind was blown because like this is the funniest shit I've ever heard in my entire life because I was like 14. And they said shit, so it was so funny. But they had a really good sense of humor. But like they were talking about this achievement idea around like getting into it and like how it all worked, and it was what really inspired me to jump over from the PlayStation over to the Xbox system. And then, like, one of my friends had a 360, so I got to, play Gears of War and kind of understood how that all worked. And just from then on, I was like, well, I made my account, got my first few achievements. I was like, oh, wow, I really want to finish all these games, and get used to this stuff. And, like, I put up a little bit of score over those first few years. But then I found out that EB Games had a return policy of 14 days for any pre-owned game. And I played literally everything on that shelf. I smashed through, like, I have most of the disc stuff outside of, like, sports and racing games occasionally. Even some racing games I did. Like, I would walk into the store and be like, okay, played that. Like, I'd have to go through and look and find something new to play. Which is how I afforded playing through all my games, so I didn't pay for most of them.
I was going to say, you know what's bad, though? Like, walking into an EB and just saying, like, I own this physically, I own this physically, I own this physically.
Yeah.
At least you have the sanity to return those games.
Yeah, oh, no, absolutely. I was like, when I was done with it, I was done with it. Like, I got to just move on and save my money because I was broke. Yeah. And it's only been like since like halfway through the last couple of years where I've actually had money to pay for video games and keep them, and that's why I've been building the digital library. But all that is essentially a long-winded way of me saying it's been part of my identity for almost half my life, and I don't know how much more of it I'm going to be doing. I think it'll always be something that I work on, but in terms of like, putting up 200,000 Gamerscore a year or even the 100,000 that I usually do, I don't know if those days are how many more of those days are ahead of me, especially, thinking 10 years in the future, what the console landscape's going to look like, what technology is going to be, how many arms I'm going to have from the radiation from the nuclear winter. Like, there's a lot of considerations to take in,
Yeah.
See, this is why I kind of want to do these challenges too, because it's more so like, achievement hunting is a challenge in itself, but
yeah,
I feel like, 500,000 to me, I could go to 1 mil, I could, go onwards, but at the end of the day, am I going to enjoy it? And I'm going to say the most fun I've had in a long time was diving everything in Game Pass. That was a very hard challenge. No, I mean, like, nothing compared to you.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know.
But, at the same time, though, it's like going to a library and reading, like, the first page of every book.
Yeah, that's maddening.
And just thinking, like, alright, well, this is a collection of stuff that I do want to go back to, and that's why I have those 12 Game Pass games, because there'll be stuff that is, like Undermine example. Undermine was, like, one of my favorites from last year that I would not have ever touched other than the fact that it was in Game Pass.
Yeah.
But I keep myself... I keep coming back to it because of that. And I feel like, I might not be achievement hunting as much these days, but I might just go into, like, completing something that feels like a different kind of challenge.
Yeah, you'll definitely still be playing games, right? Like, I think that's the thing, is I don't think that the way we play games might change slightly, but I don't think we're going to reduce the amount that we play.
If the question was, my question to you is, will you be gaming in 10 years? There would be
100%.
100%, like, no doubt about it.
Yeah. CJ?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no. It's really interesting to hear. This is what I'm most interested in. This is why I like to talk to gamers, I think, each week as well, because, I think I was lucky because, I haven't played as long as you, Neo. I think that makes a big difference. Perhaps in 10 years after I've been playing, like, as long as you for that, I might feel differently. But one of the funny things was that, 3 or 4 years ago, I had nothing, no game, no trophy score or whatever, and I wanted to see if I could get into the top 10 in Australia. And then over the time, and it's a different system, obviously, because we have 8 stacks of things and stuff. But I have a feeling my trophy score is equivalent to your Gamerscore, so I understand how much you've played, and I don't think anyone really understands that unless they're up around that number. It's easy to throw off 1 million or 500,000 or whatever until you've actually done it and you realize the time that's involved in it or whatever else. And throughout that time, like, and I'm sure you did as well, I've done some crazy things to build that score up or whatever. And, you talked tonight even about stacking games and stuff in your thing or whatever. So we're all doing these crazy things. And yeah, I like to see the number go up. But the funny thing is when I got to number 2, which is as far as I'll ever get, in Australia, and then I realised that I'd basically burn out the other people behind me, and so many people that I'd met over the 3 years had burnt themselves out because all they were playing for was the score. And I play a bit of everything, but I really enjoy the game. Yeah, the score is part of it, but I'm not trying to finish it or whatever. And so I think that, to answer your question, I think I will still be gaming like this in 10 years and still with the score, because I do like it, but the game always comes first, and I don't think that it's a really fine line. Like, coming on tonight, I wasn't sure because, I speak to some trophy hunters and the game could not exist. They don't even need the game. They need the score. Fuck the game, sort of thing. And I wasn't sure how you guys would be because, or whatever. And it's so refreshing to hear, and this is why I think you still will be doing it in 10 years, that you talked about the game all tonight. It was all about the game and the stuff like that. And, when I started, I wanted to create a trophy show because, I knew trophies or whatever else. And I knew that I loved the game, but I thought everyone else at this sort of niche hardcore level loves the trophies. And what I've learned over 3 years is that the people that did only play for those achievements or trophies, they're gone now, and they're gone and not in a good way. Like, they burn out, they don't talk to anyone, they can't even, they're doing fine in their life, but they can't even sustain a friendship with a gamer because they just hate it, and they hate what it did to them or whatever. And that's a real shame, because at the end of the day, like, it's the game. That's what's important or whatever, and that's what you love. And, it's a fine balance or whatever else. I understand, and everyone likes seeing the numbers go up, but you will become the best achievement hunter with the biggest score you can if you enjoy the game first, and that the others will come. So I think, and it sounds like that for you. I think that's why we'll all be playing, and I'm sure many of your audience is as well. And, like, I know I'm dragging on here, but just because in the last 3 months, I've seen so many trophy hunters that I knew quite well have just gone to the wall and they've given up completely now. And they're, some of them are in better places than others. And it's such a shame to see them think they need to cut themselves off from the community because they can't see the other side of the community that was always playing for the games as well. So, even if you're hardcore, about the Achievos at the moment, that's awesome or whatever. But there'll always be room for you if you come back towards the middle. And the longer you do it, the more towards the middle you'll come, just no matter how hardcore you think you are at this point.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I had a taste of that. I've done, so last year was the most score I've ever put up in my entire life. It was 270. I was I should have got one more achievement to make it an even 280,000. But so I average about 100,000 achievement, 100,000 gamer score a year roughly was kind of what I would hit. So last year, I more than doubled that. It was crazy, almost tripled it. And so part of that was a big push that I did to get to 1.5, and I played a lot of trash. And then they came out with the Hall of Fame, and I wanted to get to the top of that. I didn't quite make it in terms of that contest period. I won overall because I had the highest for New Zealand, but I wanted to win more than one. So I just got a shitload of Radlikers and sometimes U's and just absolute trash, and I just blitzed through so much of it. I put up I think probably almost 80,000 gamer score in the space of maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
You're playing so many that Alison needed to change your nappy.
Yeah, basically. But the thing was that I could never have won that competition because I'd already burned so many of them previously.
Yeah.
And I was still trying to find new trash to play and new quick completions to get. And I got really fucking burnt out by the end of it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine being on that all of the time. I don't mind dipping into sometimes or I'll play an Artifacts Mundi game every now and then, but I can't play 5 of them back to back. I can't do Awesome P 1 and 2 and then go straight into fucking 10 visual novels and it's not again, the score was never what I went for. It was always the completion. It's always getting the stuff done and it packed away and just because in my everyday life I'm very much a minimalist. I like having as few things around me as possible. I dislike clutter, and buying games essentially clutters up my mental space and my literal backlog, and getting through that stuff makes me feel better and more complete. So, but doing it just adding stuff just to finish it that's not what it's about. Because you're right, it is about the game. And there have been times when I've been more about the game, and there have been times when I've been more about the score. And I think you're right. As the years have gone on, I've been sort of moving back more towards the middle, where I can go in a little bit of each direction, but I've been trying to be more about the game. But again, when the minute you play a stack, that's mostly for the score, unless you absolutely love it. I've played BioShock way too many fucking times at this point.
It's a double-edged sword too, though, because you start out or whatever, you get your 100,000, your 200,000, and you're on fire and stuff, and you think you're doing awesome, and then you get to the level you two guys are at, and and not to oversell it, but you do learn so many tricks along the way. You know what's going to be quick, even if other people don't know yet. And that's how maybe you get your inflated score games that eventually crash down, and you pick up some skills or whatever, and I don't know if you guys do it, but you figure out bizarre ways to use turbo controllers and things like this that the normal gamer wouldn't, and I think that's okay too. That's the meta game running or something within you as well. So I'm not saying everything I do is totally pure by any stretch of the thing, but yeah, there's that give and take, I think, which is it is what it is.
I think that ties in wonderfully for our next question. So this is from
Do you use a turbo
84.
controller?
No. So last night I found out that Last night I found out from Shadow that I spent an hour playing a game for achievements, that he later told me there was a level skip glitch that could get all the achievements in sub 2 minutes. What achievements did you later work out that was a massive shortcut, and hated you found out too late? So this was discussion about, I believe, Remembered?
Yeah, so this was a question sent in from Aftos, who has been on the show previously.
So what's the completion time, 57 seconds?
Yeah, I think it's a world record, actually, just about. It's so I did Remembered when it first came out, or when it was first on sale, and did it within the hour or whatever it was. But the fact that there is now a level skip glitch, you can finish the game in less than 2 minutes, is a little annoying for sure.
I see. That's the other thing it comes down to. Then you wouldn't have experienced the whatever hell this was game.
It was a fucking shit game though.
Yeah.
It was real bad. Like that's the thing is that I think that part of what CJ said was that, like, you know, being able to coming up with tricks and understanding how to play games and what's going to be quick and what isn't. Also knowing what you're playing for, what is worth playing to play as a game and what is worth playing for score, and knowing where that distinction is just by looking at a game is something that you just gain from years of experience of just like, you fire it up, you're like, this is a score game. This is not an experience game.
Yeah. It's a funny thing because you become so less tolerant as well of games across the spectrum because you put so much time in and you're so willing to give certain time but so unwilling when certain things are done in games. So it's so funny you mentioned that because I'm sure you both do this, and I'll make it very brief. I know because I'm dragging on, but the thing that I found was, and you know, like I buy multiple consoles so that I don't have to boost with other people because they're just irritating most of the time. And you know, you can do it with you can play with yourself. You know, it's wonderful, isn't it? Across all the spectrum. But it was a PS3. It was Dirt 3 or whatever else, and there was a group of us boosting the multiplayer. I don't know if you've done this game or not. And it was just we did it, you know, late in the cycle or whatever, and it was just a nightmare. The service, you know, everything was going. It took forever, and at that time, like, I didn't even care what was going on or whatever, and they finished before me because I think I necked myself at one point or something. And then, no joke, a week later, I'm like, I'm just going to set up this 2 PS3s here, the 2 turbo controllers. I'm just going to leave it do its thing. And they're like, my friend's like, no, it's not going to work. You're going to get kicked. It's not going to work. And I don't know whether it was just luck or something happened, but those 2 machines ran for 2 days. They did it themselves. AFK.
That
amazing.
That is lucky because, as far as I'm aware, that is not a very boost-friendly game. Like,
it's not for
And I know that the more players you have in a lobby too, the XP goes up higher.
That's right.
Because
yeah.
me
so
and a few of
I
the
essentially
AK
did the
guys-
same thing with Dirt Showdown. Yeah, I ran that same thing where I ran it on my 2 Xbox, my Xbox One, and my Xbox One X, and just essentially double boxed it for
Fantastic.
days on end.
Yeah.
Just because it was not worth doing the boosting sessions because it's such a pain in the ass. But for the question itself, I can't think of many things that had level skips in them that I didn't already know about. You know, like I tend to research these things relatively well before I even start a game. Me starting a video game is quite a process usually. There's a lot, because I've been burnt too many times before, and like I have a whole, like, I'll look at the achievements, look for any potential releases of DLC, look for any discontinueds or any server based stuff, and look at, like, okay, how many people, if I want to do the multiplayer, how many people do I need? How active is the user base? Are there guides? Are there guides on Steam? Do the Steam stuff relate exactly to what's on the Xbox, or is it slightly different? Like, there's a lot involved with it, which is exhausting. So I can't think of any real times when I've been caught out in that kind of regard around, oh, well, there's actually a much easier way to do this that I didn't know about. Because if I didn't know about it, then fucking no one knew about it.
So I think that's interesting, though, because, I mean, particularly in your community, Xbox, there are so many guide creators now, video guide creators or whatever, and it's pretty hard to get, a glitch that someone doesn't pick up in the community and they don't make a video about, within a day or 2 days or whatever. But what interests me, and I don't know how to use the True Achievement site well enough, but I'm sure it lists this information, is these niche games, and again, coming from PlayStation, but I'm sure it's the same. There's a lot of games that come out of Japan that not many people will buy here in the West, and, especially because they've got these long, like, it's hard to tell how long, but it says someone 4 weeks or whatever, but you don't know how many hours it took them or whatever, and then someone will do it in like 9 hours or whatever, or 7 hours, and they've obviously figured something out, but because the game is so, it's not sold mass market here or whatever, it's not in English or whatever else, and, it can be a very enjoyable game. I really like that challenge of trying to find that out and contacting these people, and I think that's a really interesting point, and I'm sure it's the same on the Xbox. There are games there that we don't know are this quick, or relatively quick, that a handful of people do, and they're happy to share. Maybe if anyone asks them, I don't know, or maybe not. But there is a lot of these, games, and some of them are really fun, I think, too, that are probably floating around that are nowhere near as long as we think. So it's interesting.
Yeah, because of the way the floodgates have opened, like, it's so hard to tell because there's only so many games that people can put time into, and they tend to gravitate towards the larger releases that are more publicized. And so there's a lot of the small indie stuff, or all the stuff that's come, especially the Japanese stuff on the Xbox system in particular, that just doesn't have coverage of guides or players, and the people who do play it, they're hopefully have ideas, but not always.
I was going to say the only one that I can really think of too is the fact of like Zidon games, like people that have put,
Yeah,
put those hours in, and then somebody goes, well, all right, let's try and get a few more bucks.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a little
I know that's like aside the point of this question, but that's the only one that's like springing forth to the front of my head. Are those kind of people that want to just, they add some DLC in, or they add some kind of mechanic that is a purchasable to make it easy, but to boost sales.
Yeah, like for example, I'm just thinking of Control with the assist mode that they added in with the last DLC pack. So if you'd played any of the stuff beforehand, you could have struggled all through it, and then now there's just an easy mode you can just click on to just run through it all. Which I think is a good thing, because like Control is one of those games that I want more people to play and more people to experience.
But then there's other stuff too, like...
But you say that, and then how many people, and I did this as well, I'm sure you did it if you played it, how many people ran to the top of that aircraft carrier thing with Mr. Tomasi, they hid up in the corner or whatever, they snuck out, shot him, and come back, because you had to.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Tomasi can get fucked.
Yeah,
that boss fight is awful.
We found our own way of creating an assist mode before it existed.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheese the shit out of it, because that boss is massively unfair.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right, and again, a game, like part of playing games is about playing with what they give you and trying to break it as much as possible.
Of course, yeah.
And like you're an agent of chaos in this world that they've built, and you just want to twist it as much as you can. Yeah. So them giving you an assist mode is them being like, yeah, look, we'll just help you out with this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any others, but like none really come to mind other than the fact of somebody changing an achievement list after the fact. Because I mean, like if you've read a guide for most of the stuff, like unless the game has massively changed itself in terms of like, I'm trying to think of an example.
Yeah, I can't think of
like
anything.
Overwatch is like one that I could probably think of at the start of those multiplayer servers where it's just that populated that you can't boost. Whereas in these days you can go to a quick play match with two groups of 6 and easily lock down a lobby for an hour or two to get most of your achievements.
It's that old adage, I'd rather be the first achiever than the fastest achiever, because some bastard is always going to find a way to pip you if you're the fastest.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's should we move on, wrap up the show?
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah. Alright, so contacting us. If you want to contact us, you can contact us by email at hello@realgamerscore.com. Our Twitter handle, managed by me, is @realgamerscore. The Discord, as we mentioned before, is discord.io/realgamerscore. Come, drop in, say hello. Tell Nero that you have a higher gamer score. Like, just blatantly lie to him. It's fine.
There's 30 people who can say that to me. Thrash Forever is getting very close, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, we want the big names in there. We've got like one Neomaster. Like, let's have another. It'll make you feel very uncomfortable, won't it, buddy? Anyway, Patreon, if you want to donate money to us, patreon.com/realgamerscore. Like I said before, if you want to throw any mentions of any type of content you want to see in the future, let us know. You can write in questions to the show, and we will endeavour to answer them in the next episode as well. You can contact me on True Achievements on Xbox under the gamertag Shadowless Edge. You can also catch me managing the Xbox Achievement community on Facebook, and you can also catch me on the Push to Plat episode coming up. When, CJ?
Coming out this week, yes.
Cool.
What day are we? Oh, Nick, yeah, this week when this comes out, yeah. That's right.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah. I feel like we're going to have a bit of a deja vu here of topics, but I wrote down a couple of questions I want to ask for our next round as well. So.
Oh, excellent.
Sounds good.
And then, so you can find me on Neomaster on pretty much everything. True Achievements, Xbox, Discord, usually the best way to find me. Hit me up if you... Do me a favor, have a look at my boost list and see if there's anything on there that you can help me with. Again, I still need someone to help me out with Apache Air Assault. That game is fucking awful.
Can we suggest games that you need to start?
No, you cannot suggest games. No, I will take no suggestions. Good day, sir. And CJ, what about you?
Yeah, so you can find me on the Xbox under the tag Gwen's Candle. Feel free to add me because I know almost no one on the Xbox, and I'm not exactly sure how the friend thing works, so you can send it or whatever else. So mainly so that I can spy on you, so I can see what you're playing, so I know what to buy and play myself. Or, of course, the affectatious donk if you're on the evil PlayStation system. Yeah, that's where I am.
Great. And you want to plug your show while you're on?
Not really, but it comes out each week. We talk about trophies and all that sort of stuff, and general gaming as well. We had the wonderful Cameron on, as we said, and I know you're coming up as well, Sir Neo. So I'm looking forward to that conversation as well. And you could live. You guys come out on a Tuesday. We're coming out on a Friday, so it's possible you could do. If you could handle double podcasting in a week, you could maybe throw us a look occasionally. Occasionally, we have some Xbox people that are misguided. They think it's an Xbox show, but it's rare. It's rare.
And occasionally we have a PlayStation.
I know.
That was
a
clearly
mistake.
misguided.
That was a
Yeah, I was
mistake,
like, I'm going to have to
wasn't
censor a lot of this show, aren't I? There's a lot of word. There's a lot of mentions of the P word in this one,
it? This will be a one-time deal. Getting
Alright, and with that, I guess we'll wrap it up, and Yakuza later.
Oh, for fuck's sake. All right. See you later, guys.
Thanks,
Catches.
guys.